Good day and welcome. I hope you are having a fantastic day. So, today we are hosting again another B2B Leaders webinar series, and we are talking today about mastering email marketing. And as usual, our context is going to be from a B2B point of view. However, email marketing and the principles that we are sharing are relevant to B2C as well. So, whether you're B2B, B2C, or B2 G, government, or B2E employees, or whoever you are talking to, and whoever your stakeholder groups are, email marketing is one of the most important channels. And I'm very excited about today's session. So we've got a lot to cover today, as usual, a jam-packed session. But we hope to cover everything in detail. And if you miss a point, you will be able to see the video once it's uploaded to YouTube. So do subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Let me quickly introduce Shift One to you so that you know why it is that we feel that we can speak about this topic. As you know, we're a B2B marketing agency, so we cover all of the marketing topics from market research to market strategy, focus group surveys, customer journey mapping, persona development, press, webinars, events, stakeholder relations, communications, and obviously the tracking of marketing. So this is more your traditional marketing side. But our real sweet spot that we love and really come alive in is digital marketing because it's so trackable, measurable, and cost effective. And we can really drive that ROI and sales. And that's a big part of why we exist. So we do all the brand building soft stuff, the pretty stuff. We can design your brochures. We do gorgeous social media. We create amazing websites. And then we also do the hard hitting stuff. And this is really where we stand out and are unique. And that is that we focus quite heavily on lead generation approaches and coming up with a customized approach to reach your audiences for lead generation and growth. So the two come together, brand building and brand growth in Shift One. And as I said, we do B2B because it's the hard stuff. I find that B2C, we have a lot of clients who are in the B2C space, or we do B2B and a mix of B2C for them. But really, B2B is the difficult stuff, and that's really our speciality. So we can do both. And I'm joined by an amazing team. So some of my team sit in beautiful Cape Town, some are in Joburg, some are all over the world. I sit in Germany, and hopefully you take a lot of value from the session today. So I'm your host, Kohlstadt, founder and CEO of Shift One. We've been going since 2011. We also have the Digital Marketing Academy under our umbrella. We have Scale One, our very own all-in-one CRM, but it's so much more than just a CRM, and it's one of the easiest tools to use. And yeah, I've been a digital marketer for many years, and I have been a marketer for many years working all over the world. And today I'm very excited to be joined by one of our senior account managers, Cashé. Cashé, welcome, and please tell people a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Dylan. I'm very excited to be joining everyone today. My name is Cashé, but you can call me Cash. I've been in the industry for the better part of 12 years, which is a really long time when you say that out loud. And before that, for 4.5 years, I was in copywriting. So I feel like I've immersed myself in digital marketing and marketing my entire adult life.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're an absolute asset to the team and our clients love you. So that's the most important thing. So let's talk about mastering email marketing, and there's a lot that falls under this umbrella. So just in terms of, why email marketing? So you might be sitting there saying, why should I include email marketing in my strategy? Email marketing is dead. A lot of people don't buy into email marketing, and I don't know why, because it's one of the only channels that can bring a customer back to your website or can reach a customer in where their eyes spend most of the day. Name another channel for me like that is so cost effective that you don't have to repay for the audience every single time. So you're looking at a $42 for every $1 spent. I mean, that's a massive ROI. And then that's above any other marketing channel. So obviously half the world uses email marketing at this point in time. And so there's certain principles that we're going to be touching on in this presentation. For example, if you segment your campaigns, you're going to get 760% higher returns than if you don't segment. You're going to get a 30% higher open rate if you are personalizing your mailers. You're going to get a 50% higher conversion rate if you are doing automated sales drip campaigns. And please speak to us about this. This is our absolute passion, is supporting sales team Marketing should be supporting sales in driving conversions. Marketing shouldn't just be throwing leads at the top of the funnel and expecting them to convert. Marketing needs to work with sales and build these pipelines, and email marketing has a big role to play with that. So please speak to us if you're interested. So 77% of B2B buyers prefer email during a vendor evaluation. And you're looking at a 40% open rate if you're mailing existing customers. So all of these numbers and stats, I mean, we get a 50, 57% open rate when we are mailing our clients and when we're mailing our customers' clients. So, if you're sending relevant content to the right person, you're going to get, it's going to be read. The three R's of email marketing: relevance, right person, right time, and read. And then you're going to have ROI. So I think that's 5 R's. So, what's your email strategy and what are we going to be talking about? So, we're obviously going to be talking about segmentation, we're going to be talking about personalization, automation, some of the technical considerations, and then obviously, very, very important with email marketing, you're only going to learn when you are measuring and reporting. So, if you're just sending out mailers and then sending out another mailer and sending out another mailer, and you set up auto mailers and you never go back and look at the numbers, you're never going to learn and have insights. But it's by looking at the numbers and asking yourself, why does this mailer have a 16% open rate and this mailer has a 57% open rate? That's going to teach you about writing subject lines that get opened. So there's something there to be dug into. And so that's the beauty of email marketing. You can dig and dig and dig and you'll just keep learning. All right. How can email support each stage of the funnel and the buyer journey? You're looking at setting up mailers for prospects. So this is a big part of email marketing. Firstly, you can do mass cold email to massive databases, 1,000 people a day, and the brand awareness is phenomenal. Imagine 1,000 people a day getting a mailer from you saying, "Hi, this is us," and they start to get that brand awareness, brand awareness, brand awareness, and it takes a while to build trust, and you need to be consistent at it. But we've got proprietary tech systems that we've built that allow us to mail 1,000 people a day on your behalf. And so there's other things that you could set up: auto mailers once they've downloaded something, and obviously marketing mailers to keep people warm and fresh. We've had people convert 2 years after subscribing to our mailing list. 2 years. They would say to us, "I've been part of your mailing list for 2 years and now I'm ready to buy." You never know who's going to convert and when, but if they weren't on that email mailing list and if we weren't sending out regular mailers, they would not have converted. Obviously, new mailers, and this is the beauty of automations and workflows. You can build onboarding workflows that include welcome mailers, and based per product that they've just bought, it can include manuals and it can include videos and how-tos. It can include service reminders. It can include upsell, cross-sell. So there's so much that you can do if you've set them up by new customers onboarding, by product onboarding. There's a lot that can be done in terms of email marketing. And then referral campaigns, so much power, so much money sitting there when you ask your customers to refer you. Speak to us about referral campaigns. We've got a lot of insight in this space. How can you get your customers to refer you and your staff to refer you, but you need to make it worth their while? And then obviously retention campaigns sort of tie in with churn campaigns. So if you have indicators that someone has a high propensity to churn, in other words, you get a flag or a notification saying a customer has done the following 3 things and I think they're going to leave, then you should immediately have a warning going to a sales team saying, "Please can someone call this? Or please can a director call this person?" So propensity to churn means they've asked for a withdrawal. They've got a big investment amount. Maybe they've asked to reduce it. So how can you spot those trends and set up systems to send out automated mailers? And then obviously your lapsed customers are sitting there waiting to be contacted, and renewals and things like that. So there's a lot to be done to support your sales team, and email marketing is there for you all the way. So step number 1, you need a database. It doesn't help you decide to do email marketing and you don't have a database. So the easiest way to get a database is to buy a database and speak to us. We sell databases and we sell cleaned and washed databases. You can tell us any audience, any market, any industry, any space, any part of the world, and we've got the databases, and they are what's the word? They have a high. They're not private. There's no private information there. There's nothing that's going to get you into trouble. So we're not selling credit card numbers. We're selling public domain information. That's the word. So you can buy databases from us or other reputable sources. But a lot of companies are sitting on a gold mine in terms of the old lists. So These are people that have reached out to you for quotes before, or who have downloaded content, or have inquired, or your sales team are, have got massive inboxes with email addresses. And so those need to also be looked at. And there's a whole campaign that needs to be set up in terms of running subscribe campaigns to them to get them to opt in. But as a minimum, your marketing team, whoever's doing your social media content, needs to have subscribe now campaigns going. Even mailers going out, you need to ask people to subscribe to your mailing list, because sometimes if you have old mailing lists and they haven't opted in and they haven't subscribed, you could get yourself into trouble. But if you're running email gated content and webinars, you'll definitely grow your list, especially if you have an opt-in button that says, I'm able to contact you afterwards. But it's very important that you clean your list. Doesn't help you have massive databases because, guys, let me tell you, it's a vanity metric. A vanity metric is if you have 30,000. So just the other day, we did a full audit on our databases. We have, I don't want to lie, let's say 35,000 database, and we cut it down. I think it's probably sitting on around 20,000 now, maybe even less, because we were very, very harsh. If you're using a platform, it can tell you what your open rates are, who's not opening, and you can actually filter out the names that are causing you to be marked as a spammer because of a high bounce rate. So you need to obviously wash your lists, and we can do that for you as well. All right, so now you've got your database and you need to make sure that you can segment. So when we sell a database to you, it's got name, contact, industry, job title, company size, a whole bunch of information in the, all business address, telephone, cell phone, all of that information. So it's important that if you convert a customer to a sale, that you also from your internal system are harvesting and storing as much information that can be used for segmentation as possible. And that would include, product information. So definitely pull your data, look at what the gaps are. If you've just got a bunch of email addresses, that's the lowest form of data possible. If you've got email address and first name, a little bit better. But if you have the full scope, and when people are opting in, they're forced to give you more information. So sometimes when people subscribe to your mailing list, if you make them fill out a full form, they don't do it. So it's a tricky balance. But if they've bought from you, you definitely should have that information. So try to build as much information as you can, and that will help you when it comes to personalization and being able to pull the data. Okay, let's have a look at your personas. As you know, when you attend one of these webinars, we always talk about our personas. So here's our engineer. The question about our engineer is, what is his pain points? What is his needs? And how can each channel support him? And because we're talking about email marketing, we're saying, how can email marketing support each persona? And then you're going to do a buyer journey by persona to make sure that each persona is unpacked by channel, by persona. So you need to do a buyer journey for, if you have 7 personas or target markets or audiences, whatever you want to call them, you need 7 buyer journeys. And each channel needs to be unpacked in terms of how they can support them. I'm going to hand over to Cashé on something very, very interesting called compliance. So we can't talk about email marketing without first talking about compliance. Cashé, talk to
Yes.
us about compliance.
So compliance naturally worldwide differs, but the red thread through it all is that you have to follow the rules. Now, in South Africa, we have the POPI Act, which I'm sure we're all very familiar with, but there has been a little bit of a curveball thrown recently that I'm going to dive into a little bit more further down in this webinar. So obviously with POPI, we have to make sure that people have given us express consent before we can reach out to them. So the strategy and the database and everything that looks great is only going to be effective if you're following these regulations. So the POPI Act is our first hurdle, I suppose, for lack of a better word. But there is a new curveball that's been thrown in the form of the NCC. And as I mentioned, I'm going to go into much more detail about that a little bit later on. But these are the two main ones within South Africa. Now, as we go in globally, if you have an audience or a database or clients who are in the EU or in the United States, they have their own regulations as well. So in the European Union, it's the GDPR, and in the United States, they have CAN-SPAM. These are both similarly to our Protection of Personal Information Act. You have to follow the regulations set out by these legislations to make sure that you're remaining compliant. What I did think was quite interesting about the United States regulations is that while you are not allowed to send a lot of different marketing emails out without explicit consent, transactional emails are allowed, which is interesting if you think about how many emails are sent out to people about from Nigerian princes offering them wealth and fame and fortune, and it slips through the cracks. So maybe they need to sharpen that up. But I did think it was a little bit funny that that's their one lenient loophole when it comes to what you can and cannot send to the United States. And then obviously we have the universal best practice. This is just the general email privacy principles. So never rent or purchase a third party list without verified opt in consent. That's an umbrella across the globe thing to make sure that you have the consent from someone. Personally, I dislike immensely getting emails that I didn't sign up for. And it's odd how often that's happening lately. I'm getting a lot of insurance emails coming through from insurance forums. So the rule of thumb is making sure that you're not purchasing anything without actual opt-in consent being selected there, which is why we are the best place to get your lists from because we already have that. Now, going into the compliance that I was talking about, this is something that has consumed a lot more of my time. I've hyper fixated on this a little bit since the announcement was made. So the NCC opt-out registry officially goes live on the 1st of July, which means that consumers can reach out to the NCC to ensure that they are removed from any list. This doesn't seem like much of a big deal, almost like an unsubscribe button, but it does have some serious consequences if you, as the marketing agency or the marketer, doesn't comply with what the NCC implements. So if you run any of these campaigns, you are now regulated to make sure that you are compliant within the NCC. So any automated WhatsApp campaigns, email marketing, cold SMSs, even outsourced call center outreach is now something that needs to be regulated. So even if you are outsourcing this resource, the liability will still fall on you if you go against this regulation. So there is a new cost of doing business. There are the three non-negotiables that have come into place with this new regulation. So you need to register and pay. You cannot legally contact a consumer without registering on the NCC registry using all of their various annexures. There is a fee that does apply to this, but I think that is dependent on the size of your agency and or marketing operations. Number two is you have to have your databases cleaned up on a monthly basis. It's not a one and done situation. Every month you have to submit your database to make sure that it is cleansed against their list. And anyone that has opted out must be removed from your database immediately. There's no X amount of business days, must be done immediately. And then thirdly, everything is absolute transparency. So going forward, you have to have your name, physical address, and contact details on all of the communications that you send out. So there's no masked numbers or untraceable bulk sending platforms. There are no exceptions to this rule either. So we have to be completely transparent. Then the Consumer Protection Act and the NCC, they do work together. So if a consumer registers as a preemptive block on the NCC, you cannot contact them via any marketing channel at all. This is an absolute no ifs, buts, or maybes to this rule. There are also the Protection of Personal Information Act. So these two laws now run concurrently. It's not one or the other. You don't get to pick which one seems best for you. You have to run both of them at the same time. So if somebody is on the NCC registry, you cannot reach out to them irrespective of how long or how loyal they have been to your marketing, if they have been on that list or if they've put themselves on that list. Now, this isn't just a gentle warning. There are real consequences if you now ignore this new law, one of which I think is a little insane, but you could spend 12 months in jail, up to 12 months of jail time for ignoring a compliance notice. It's now a criminal offense. So it's not just an administrative oversight. You can't say that the intern did it. This is also going to affect your pockets. So 10% of annual turnover can be taken as an administrative fine. The National Consumer Tribunal can fine you up to 10% or R1,000,000, whichever is greater. And that applies for small to medium to large enterprises. So that's something that even small businesses will really feel if they're being fined R1,000,000 for not complying. And that's the floor penalty is that R1 million. And I don't know about you, but I'm not sure many people have R1 million floating around to be paying fines. So the safest thing you can do is to treat the NCC registry as the ultimate truth. I mean, within marketing, we have to be agile. Everything changes all the time. This is just another element of that coming into play. So if you have people on the opt-out list, they're now dead to your marketing team. There are no exceptions, workarounds, and it'll save you jail time and a very large amount of money. So make sure you audit your database. You have until the 1st of July to get compliant on that stance, and then make sure it's audited, excuse me, every month to ensure your compliance and that you don't get into trouble, don't have to spend money.
Yeah, my recommendation is that you book a standing meeting for yourself on the first of every month to submit that database. And you need to also, step one, pause all mailers, and step two, submit your database, and then step three, you have to reactivate all mailers. So email marketing did become it has just become a lot more complex, but it's not a bad thing if you think of the number of spam phone calls we all get on a daily basis. Personally, I think that spam phone calls are worse than spam emails, but that's maybe just because I'm a little bit biased. But definitely make a diary booking for yourself. Also, we're not 100% sure if the NCC will be ready on the 1st of July, but book yourself a diary booking first thing in the morning on the 1st of July and go and see if you can register and keep checking because it's your job to make sure that as soon as it goes live, you are aware of it and you've signed up and you've submitted your first list. Okay. So let's talk about copy and design cachet. Speak to us about
Yes.
copy and design best practices.
So something a little less doom and gloom. It's the fun, creative side of copy and design, which I find very important when sending out, excuse me, any sort of email marketing. You know what type of client you're dealing with, and you know what type of audience you want to reach. So it's really important to make sure that you are crafting your content directly towards them. Before I get into something that I really enjoy talking about, which is the creative side of it, there are different types of mailers naturally that we have to look into. Start obviously with the text only. We did touch on this earlier. This feels very personal and very real, but it has become a bit overused now. As Dylan said, people almost expect this to come from a mass mailing platform now. Newsletter style mailers, personally, something that I think is very effective when people see these, almost like a shiny toy with a magpie. You want to open it up to see what it is. So those are the ones that I really enjoy talking about. You have your promotional mailers. You also then have informational and content mailers, transactional mailers, lifestyle and behavioral mailers, auto mailers that go out that usually forms part of a workflow, e-commerce mailers. There's a never-ending list of things that you can include in terms of setting up your mailers and the pillars that they go into, and sales mailers as well, of course. The copy and design for sales mailers, as I said, you have a lot of different options. We have our auto mailers. This is really great to send out after something like a webinar when you have a data sheet or a white paper that they can download. This gives them something back as well as giving you access to their information. So it's a win-win. 50% more leads converted from a sales auto mailer versus non-automated campaigns. You have your mass outbound, sales mass outbound. These are high volume sends to segmented prospect lists that get sent out in large volumes. This is really great to use when you have a product launched or a campaign. This is also great for re-engaging lapsed data, members in the database, and it has a 29% higher open rate than with industrial segmentation. And then you have your ABM micro mailing. So I'll touch on it super quickly. So it's just hyper targeted. It sends to a handful of named accounts. So this is something that is very specific to what you want to talk about to a specific audience.
ABM micro mailing is our jam, and it's something that's extremely powerful and being overlooked by a lot of companies. Mass is easy. The ABM's harder. Account-based marketing. What is account-based marketing? Highly targeted mailers to a specific list. And that's really something we're very passionate about. So if you're interested in that, book a meeting with me and we'll definitely help. We can definitely help you.
All right. Now, going on to the subject line, as Dylan touched on earlier, the subject line is very important. You don't have a lot of real estate to get attention on that subject line, but it is what either opens that email or gets it sent to the trash before anybody opens it. So it's important that you make sure you find that sweet spot. You have about 6 to 10 words that you can actually use. I think the max is 95 characters to make sure that it lands. So start off with something that gets attention. Oftentimes, using somebody's first name works really well, but having that personalization with a really strong hook, throw in some marketing jargon, is what makes the email get opened up or gets it into the trash folder. So always use the first name. Have a question or a statement. I personally would avoid using anything clickbaity because I think we're a bit fatigued when it comes to clickbait subject lines, but something that is strong, that is relevant to the email that they're going to read, and something that has their name in it as well will get more attention. The adding a question or a statement is also really good. So, like I say, as long as it's not clickbaity, not open this to see the 30-foot whale.
I once sent out a mailer that said, your website has been hacked because I wanted to sell our website security service. I had about a 99% open rate, which was amazing, but I had so much hate, and someone even signed me up for porn mailers because they wanted to punish me. But then, I was like, your website's been hacked. That's not something you want to hear. So if you don't want to be
No.
hacked, you need a, but yeah, the damage was done. So clickbaity, think about it twice, definitely.
No, definitely. Then onto the personalization of your copy and your design. The way you present your emails is really important. This does affect better open rates, better click-through rates. Like I said, having the name in the subject line is a non-negotiable. Clean data gives you so many options. So having their first name, industry, the product that they last purchased, the date that they purchased it, any case studies that you have on them, you have so much options at your disposal. First name, age, gender. In some instances, you know things like how long they hovered over the add to cart sign on your website. You can use all of that information when putting your marketing collateral together to push them over that finish line to make that purchase. And as we've touched on the personalization, there are the basics. Again, first name and subject lines, adding company name references if you're dealing with a B2B audience. Location specific content is great. I got an email the other day from an insurance company in the United States. I don't know how they got my information. I don't work in insurance and I'm not their target audience. So it was a little bit of a quick unsubscribe from me. But you also have advanced personalization. So when you see the product recommendation, something they've hovered over, it's been in their cart for a really long time, or it's something that you've seen them speaking about online, you can include those little tidbits in everything that you incorporate so that it just further solidifies your relationship building with them. They will then think that it's not just a mass mailer going out, that it's something that you've crafted specifically for them. And it makes it a bit more authentic. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of people are looking for, that authentic connection. And these little elements of personalization help cement that.
I think a really good example that I can think of was once I bought blonde hair dye from Clicks, and then I got a voucher for blonde hair shampoo from Clicks.
Mm,
So somebody had their brain on and was thinking,
yeah.
how do we sell some relevant product adjacent to the one that they've bought? Simplistic personalization is buy more blonde hair dye. And slightly smarter is, okay, here's an upsell or a cross sell
Yes.
that's relevant to you, but very relevant to me. And it was a voucher and some money off, and I was very happy to receive it.
So there is implementation framework that you can take into consideration. So you map content types into segments. So aligning what you say with who you're saying it to, as I said, you can see what the person is engaging with. You can see what they've opened, what they didn't open. We'll talk about A/B testing as well, which will help you really narrow down how to make sure you're saying what you need to say to the right person to get them to pay attention. Creating content templates, building reusable email templates per persona. So everything starts from a really strong foundation. You can also, again, see what they've engaged with on those various templates, and it guides how you put future content pieces together. And setting up personalization tokens, having the first name, their company, their industry, product variables in your email platform helps again really narrow down how you're sending that message out to everyone. And then test across email clients. There are different renderings in different email platforms. So Outlook and Gmail have two different renderings when you send through emails, how it looks on a mobile. This goes as far as making sure the fonts are compatible with the different platforms that you're using. So really test what it looks like before you hit send and send it out to the world. A few stats as well, just to drive home how personalization is effective, is that 29% of higher open rates came from personalized emails. So you've got 41% higher click rates with personalization versus generic sends, and 760% more revenue came from these segmented campaigns. Now onto the creative. Again, always test. It's really important to make sure that what you're sending resonates with the people who are receiving it. And if it doesn't, testing, make sure you know this so that you can change it going forward. Is it mobile first responsive? Same thing with the fonts. Does it look good on Gmail versus Outlook versus the phone? The inverted pyramid hierarchy is also something to take into consideration. I'm not sure if we have that popping up in this slide, but that's also something to take into consideration. The squint test for CTAs. So the squint test is making sure that you can actually see what that call to action wants you to do. And is it clear enough for them to push through and do the action you are calling them to do? And then accessibility and text to image ratio is also really important. It's finding that balance is also why. Always test what's working, what's landing. What looks really great for you might not land for the audience that you are sending it to. Also, dark mode optimization. I'm constantly in dark mode, and if I get an email that isn't dark mode optimized, I'm not going to read it. So it's important to make sure, especially when you're dealing with engineers who I discovered the other day, put everything in dark mode the second they get a new device. I didn't know that. So email formatting do's and don'ts. Oh, this is a big no. When you see the first example as a perfect example, I can't help but think of 2009. You're getting random emails from the entire office because Tani Memes thinks she's going to win money. So that's all I can think of when I see this amazing deal for you. Lots of emojis, lots of different colors. It feels like a virus waiting to happen if I open that email. Then if you have going down, obviously you'll have like a giant banner with nothing on it that looks like something's wrong, that my McAfee's working and I shouldn't open that email. And also no formatting. It just doesn't make it easy to read. It looks like spam. It looks like a Nigerian prince is wanting to offer me wealth and fame and fortune. But if you have a look at the do's, you can see how nicely it's put together, how clean everything looks. You can instantly see what it's about. That subject line, it instantly tells you, James, this is what we're going to be talking about. The next, having a very solid single banner at the top with the company name, those buttons that are working, clickable buttons, it all looks elegant, professional, chic. It's what you want people to see when they open your emails.
Amazing. Thank you so, so, so much. So let's talk about the frequency of mailing. How frequently should you mail? And the answer is really, how long is a piece of string? You need to test the mailers that you're sending out by subject line, by day, by time. Cyclicality might play a role in influencing things. But as a rule, 10 o'clock in the morning is going to have a higher open rate, but your click-through rate, which is your response, is happening at 8 o'clock at night. So it's definitely important that you test it because you don't want to make any assumptions and just look at one metric and decide everything based on one metric. So definitely, and each mailer and each channel and each type of mailer has different goals. And we've got a lot of stats that we're going to give you and reporting frameworks because you need to be into the numbers, deep into the numbers, and you need to understand what it's telling you. And A/B testing is very, very important, especially when it comes to mailers. So what can you A/B test? So the question is, first name in the subject or no first name in the subject. I sometimes find it patronizing. Sometimes I find it warm and fuzzy, depending on the day or the time or whoever's mailing me. So, do you put the name in the subject line? I don't know. Don't ask me. Test it. And most of your platforms allow you to split your database in two, test one and test two, and then it will automatically change the whole database that was loaded to test one if test two is doing better, and it will at some point it will decide, or if there's a tick box that you can make it do that, it will decide, okay, send the bulk to this mailer subject line because it's doing better. So you can test, should you use an emoji in the subject line? I don't know. Let's have a look. Do your engineers respond to that? I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. You have to see. Date, time, month, subject lines, topics and themes, people versus product photos, or people holding products. So there's lots of different things that you can test. Here's just an example of some tests that can be sent, and you can see how complex they are. So you've got the test area, which is, for example, the subject line. What is the hypothesis? What is A? What is B? Who's the audience? What is the KPI that you're measuring? What is the duration? And why it matters. And it goes down all the way. There's lots of different things that you can test. So just test one thing. If you find this overwhelming, just test one thing. Should I send long mailers to my clients or short mailers? And you can say long mailers have a high open rate, but short mailers have a high click-through rate. That's the kind of understanding that you'll come to. Let's talk quickly about some of the technical stuff now. So if you're not a technical person, forward this to the person who is technical. But there is such a thing as being listed as a spammer and having a bad authority, domain authority. So if you send out a lot of spam that gets flagged or a lot of high bounces, you're going to end up in spam, and you're going to end up in the spam folders on people's it's called the client, mailing client, which is either Outlook or it's Gmail or whatever Yahoo, whatever people are using. So it's actually Yahoo and Microsoft and Gmail's job to hold back as much trash as possible. And so they have very, very high criteria, and they're constantly looking for spam markers. And you need to make sure that if they burn your domain, that you are not responsible for burning the entire domain for your business. So if you start doing mailing, you need to proceed with a lot of caution. There are a lot of technical setups that you need to do to make sure that there is a trust and that your domain is trusted by the email clients. So you need to decide, are you going to email from your primary domain? For example, your brand is brand.com or brand.net or .coza. Or are you going to use a subdomain? And there's pros and cons to each. Or are you going to use a secondary domain with a burner, like try shift one. So there's pros and cons to each, but those are some of the considerations that need to be considered, as well as your email platform. Which email platform are you going to be using, depending on your needs? So you've got a traditional email service provider, for example, MailChimp or ConvertKit or Scale One, which is our platform. And it's a simple drag and drop editor, and it's very easy to use. And you can send out limited mailers, not necessarily bulk. And then you've got your marketing automations, and that's really where you can set up automations to go out, drip mailers, response mailers. If they do this, then that, workflows. This is where, Klaviyo, HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, and again, Scale One can help you. So if you're looking for a demo, Scale One's definitely the cheapest one out there, and you don't get charged more for different automations, for adding users, or for adding contacts. So it's definitely one of the most powerful, easy to use systems out there. If you want a demo, let us know. And then obviously you've got like real, programmatic SMTP delivery backends and things like that, which are highly technical, and we're not going to get into that today. Okay, I love workflows. So workflows are super cool. And maybe I'm just a bit of a geek when it comes to things like this, but I love seeing the picture of and they're very visual. So it's kind of like flow diagrams where you build that you say, pull from this list. And if they do this, and then wait a few days and then do that. So it's how you set up these workflows, and your email sending client should be quite easy for you to use. So if you are using, for example, a very complicated system, and some systems are so complicated only a developer can use them, and they cost a living fortune. So you're looking, when you are setting up and choosing a CRM, definitely choose one that is easy to use, cost effective, and doesn't become ridiculously expensive when you add more users or contacts. But you definitely set up a welcome sequence, a quote follow-up sequence. If for example, scale one and many of the platforms, your contacts get loaded in by your sales process. So for example, website inquiry, then your sales team will drag it to the next thing, which is emailed them, I emailed them, and then it gets dragged to the next thing, which is meeting setup. And then each automation fires depending on where that contact gets dragged across. And when you're in B2B, you're not dealing with massive numbers that somebody can't go in and do that. When you're dealing with B2C, you need to maybe set up some automations and it's based on user behavior. And obviously, when you are choosing your automation program, make sure that they can do bulk emails, that they can do lead and pipeline tracking, workflows, notify the sales reps, SMSs, WhatsApps, automated outbound calling, automated inbound calling. There's a lot of different things that you need to be able to look into that. But the data that gets uploaded, that's your responsibility, making sure that it's compliant. So, yeah, we've covered a little bit about that. So we're not going to go into too much detail. You need to look at your timings and your optimizations. This is just a little bit of a checklist for you, and you can work through that in your own time. But this is what one of the automations looks like in Scale One. So basically, it's very visual. It's drag and drop. When you click on an element, it gives you the options. And it's really, really simple to use. And that's really what you're looking for, is a system that you can build these workflows for repeated actions, because salespeople don't always respond immediately. They may be busy, they may be out on the road. And when a contact comes through, they need that automatic message going out with a calendar, with a call to action, with a WhatsApp. So it's definitely something that needs to be considered, and built up for the company wishing to really go the next level. Let's dive into reporting. Cachet, do you want to take us through some of the reporting that can be set up to measure and monetize?
Yes, absolutely. This is the perfect opportunity for you to show off how well you have set up your campaigns is by using reporting and optimization. So, key performance indicators, I'm going to go through these quite quickly with you. You obviously have awareness, which is the open rate, engagement, your click-through rate, interest, reply rates, lead gen, forms being completed, sales, meetings being booked, and revenue, which is obviously everything that we all want. You may have your different targets. The basics are listed on here, but it might change or vary depending on your industry. But these are the golden targets at the moment. Monthly review framework, excuse me, compares segment performance across different campaigns. This is what you use to put future campaigns together to make sure that what you're doing is getting the results that you want. Analyze personalization results by persona and evaluate automation workflows for drop-off. So again, you're using this to optimize the campaigns that you put together for the next month or the next campaign to make sure that what you're putting out, you're learning from as well, to keep you growing, keep things working. There's an optimization process, so you can collect the data, 2 to 4 weeks are a minimum per campaign, analyze the performance, see what those open rates are like, the click-through rates, are there replies, what is going on from the database point of view in terms of showing you that they're happy with what you've sent them. Identify the improvements, the lowest performing segments or sequences. This is what you can then tweak, change, drop entirely, see what worked, what didn't work, implement those changes. Obviously, again, with those A/B discipline, the A/B testing that you can use can show you what you need to change, and monitor the results 2 to 4 weeks to see if it worked, and repeat the cycle. So reiterate what you have put together, what's working, what's not working. It's very agile in a marketing space. And this is what good looks like. Those targets I touched on briefly, this is what good percentages look like. So a 28 to 35% open rate is great. 5 to 8% click-through rate is a lot higher than what you would think it is. 6 to 10% reply rates. That's 6 to 10% of people that actually responded to what you sent them, which is a big thing. And 3 to 6% conversion lead to meeting rate, or when the manufacturer lead to meeting rates or manufacturing sector. Again, that's really high, although it might not seem like high numbers within this space. That's what you're aiming for. So the email data, I'm sure this is something that you can go through as well. There's quite a lot to go through in here, but you have your basic reporting structure of what you can put in here, what the open rate is for your newsletters, drip mailers, auto mailers. This is the kind of information that you use when putting those future campaigns together, when sending information through to clients about how well you've done. This also gives you a nice breakdown so you can compare those insights over the course of the month to see what needs to be tweaked, what's working, where you're winning, what you might have lost. But this is a really great way for you to put that together and have something tangible as well that you can look back on when you need to see what your successes look like.
Can
There's
I
obviously,
can I talk about this report quickly?
yes, yes, go for
This
it.
this report is extremely detailed and
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And we've included it in our downloadable. So if you go to our website and you go to resources and you find the email marketing resource, there's a link there to this report. And this is the absolute shiz. It's extremely detailed, but this will give you so much information that you will silence anyone in the room at all times because data trumps opinions every day. So if you start measuring, you put your email topic here, who owned it, what's the status, what's the subject line, what's the link, what's the goal, who's the target market? Because remember, everything we do in marketing is by target market. What's the name of the send list? Who are we not sending to? So the suppression list. Which personalization tokens are we using? Name, product, date of first purchase. Images that we're using, are we pushing to landing pages? What is the mail to links? Any social share icons? Let's go to the next one because it carries on. What are we A/B testing? So we want to know whether images work better than photos of people using the product or just product alone. And then what were the results? Because it doesn't help that we just had a plan, but we never went back and looked at the numbers because that happens so much in marketing. We have these amazing plans and we do all this amazing work and we never stop to look at the numbers because who has time? And so we never actually learn. How many mailers were sent? How many were delivered? How many were opened? What was the clicks? And then it'll work out automatically your deliverability ratio, your open rate, your click-through rate, and then you can actually fill in here manually your lead generation. So, I mean, this is as comprehensive as it gets when it comes to email marketing. If you create this once a month and then you summarize this into the essence of your learnings, and the next month it gets better and better and better, and I think you should add a column there for NCC washed or unsubscribed or
Yes.
made sure that it compliance. You definitely can't go wrong. Sorry, Cachet, I jumped
No,
in there and I took over the I took
that's
over from
okay.
you. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on in terms of reporting?
No, well, I think you covered it really beautifully. I was going to, this is that last report is the creme de la creme of making sure you have all of your insights in one place. But I think you articulated that by far better than I would have.
No, no, it's my jam. I love that report. It is so cool. So yeah, you can obviously take out some columns if you feel it's too much or add in some columns if you need, but that's available to you if you get to our downloadable, which we're going to share at the end of this presentation as well via QR code. All right, so now that we've completely overwhelmed you, what is your practical action plan and what do you need to start doing? So, what can you do today? So, today you can export your current email database, you can audit it for gaps, you can review all email platform capabilities, you can list all available contact data fields and databases that you have available, and you can assess the sales team CRM adoption and speak to your sales team and understand their sales process and their sales needs. If you're a marketing manager, go on sales calls at least once a month. You need to book out a full day to go with the sales team or sit with your call center and listen to the people speaking because those are your audiences. So know what you have before you build. And then this week, so it's Thursday already, so that would mean tomorrow, but let's say within 5 working days, let's define your primary audience segments, create your buyer personas, and design a basic personalization strategy and map your first automation workflow. Identify the team owner for each step. And so plan on paper. I'm a big fan of paper. Maybe it's because I'm old school, but I love to draw. And the best thing you can do is draw your plan out. Don't go to AI first. First think because I think with AI, it's making us dumber, and AI is definitely not smarter in all cases. So, first think, first plan, first map, first identify, and then you can go to AI to refine or check your thinking and your logic and your approach. But please don't just delegate this whole thing to AI because we're all so tired of AI slop. And then you can launch. So this month or next month, build and test your welcome mail sequence. Please test your mailers. Every single mailing platform has a preview and a test mailer option. So test it because for sure there's a link that doesn't work or personalization doesn't pull through or somebody doesn't have a name and you go hi, space, comma. Well, how many times have you been sent an email that goes, hi there, and then somebody wrote in first name in square brackets, and somebody thought that that was the merge field, and they didn't actually replace it with the real merge field. And so you get a mail that goes, hi there, first name, bit of a fail, and it undermines trust. So launch your first segmented campaigns, get your quote follow up automations in place, configure your dashboard. So the beautiful thing about using a CRM like Scale One is you get these all-in-one sales dashboards where you can see how much is in your pipeline, which stage of the pipeline it's at, which sales rep has, the pipeline per sales rep, the value of what's being quoted and the value of what's being sold by channel. And that's the power and the beauty of using a platform to really just drive stats and numbers in real time. And then obviously you need to just optimize. So do your A/B testing. Once you've got the basics in place, every month add a new automation, every month add a new A/B test criteria. Keep on growing your lists, keep on cleaning your lists, review your KPIs, cut out what isn't working, and scale up what is working. So it's all about knowing the numbers and being able to drive them. So, are there any questions before we close off the presentation? There's been a lot that we've covered, and we've shared our email marketing playbook in the comments, but we will also link it in the description below if you're catching up on YouTube. It's also available on our website under resources. We've got a ton of things for you to download there. And yes, it's email gated, big surprise, surprise. And yes, you're going to get our auto mailers, big surprise, surprise. So those are some of the fun things that you can actually test out in practice. So go to our website, fill out our form, our contact form. You can say it's a test, and you will get those auto mailers if you've entered your real email address. And then, yeah, hopefully you see how we live what we talk and what we teach. There's your QR code. So please take a photo of the QR code. And there's another one. And if you want us to get you to the moon, we're the company that can get you there. There's our QR code. If you're looking for a demo on Scale One, please reach out. We've also got the link in the description below. And we are standing by to take your call. But I just wanted to thank you for joining us. I wanted to thank Kaylee for running everything seamlessly in the background. And I wanted to thank my co-host, Cashé. Cashé.
Thank you so much for having me. This was very fun. I hope to be on another one in future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Please subscribe to our mailing list. And every month we run these webinars. If you have a topic you want us to cover, feel free to reach out to us. And thank you so much for joining. It's been fabulous having you on the call. And we do wish you all the best and great success in your email marketing and in growing your business. Thanks, everybody. And we will see
Thanks
you
so much.
again next month. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.